we've done a very interesting pivot from doing on-track races to now doing virtual races. So we've gone online.
Hi, I'm Andre Chandra, founder and CEO of Propelo Media. Leaders rise up in challenging times. In today's Ask an Expert series, we're talking to JP Tuason, founder and CEO of Tuason Racing based in the Philippines. JP has been involved in the motorsports and automotive industry for over 22 years. And today, we're going to talk about COVID's impact in the Philippines and the economic outlook from here on out in Southeast Asia and beyond. Let's hear it from him. JP Tuason, it's good to see you. Thank you for being our guest today. Why don't you tell me a little bit more about you and yourself?
Yeah. So thanks for having me, Andre. It's good to see you as well. I'm sad that we're gonna have to just do this over video conferencing. I was looking forward to seeing you in a couple of months at our
Likewise,
MIT class.
Yeah.
So my name is JP Tuason, and I'm the CEO of a company called Tuason Racing, and we're based out of the Philippines. And our company's purpose is to make people's dreams come true through motorsports. So what we do is we train people how to race cars and motorcycles. It's a great job. We get to hang out at the racetrack, and what we do with these students of ours after we train them is we organize the local races. So we get them from the very ground beginnings of grassroots, train them up, and then put them in actual races. One of our subsidiaries also has a Japanese partner, and we build sports cars out here as well, which we sell to racers, and they race these single-seat race cars here in the Philippines and also in Japan. So in a nutshell, that's what we do. And I think the interesting thing to sort of let you guys know is we've been stuck at home now for about 6 weeks, and a lot of the races that we organize every year, they usually start in about March, which is the dry season out here. And all of that stuff has been pushed back to the second half of the year. So we've done a very interesting pivot from doing on-track races to now doing virtual races. So we've gone online.
I see. Wow. It's good that you pivoted quite quickly. So you mentioned that you're based in the Philippines. Maybe you can share with us kind of the ground level perspective of what's going on in Southeast Asia and the Philippines. How has COVID impacted, the society over there, the countries?
Well, I think the Philippines, we caught it kind of early on in terms of the virus sort of spreading. So we've been on lockdown now for about 6 weeks. This started about March 15. And at the time, there were very few cases that have been found. I mean, we didn't really have testing at the time, right? But there weren't a lot of cases. The government, I think, took action very quickly. And the number of cases in the last 6 weeks, let me just check some of those numbers. So we started March 8th checking on cases. We started finding 10, 20, 30, and then we locked down. And currently we just broke 7,000. So although the cases are rising, I think we've gotten to the point now after 6 weeks where it's kind of starting to taper off a bit. Mm-hmm. We're not getting as many as we had probably about a week and a half ago. So we've just been extended another 2 weeks. So we're going until May 15. And at the moment, we've crossed the hurdle of having more recoveries than deaths. So at the moment, we have about 470 deaths versus 760 recoveries. So I think honestly, our country is in good shape. A couple of the other countries in the area are probably not doing so well. So we have a lot of friends that are out in Singapore, and Singapore was very good at controlling the virus at the beginning of at the onset, and they kind of started doing social distancing, and it wasn't a full lockdown in early March, but they sort of controlled it. And then very recently they had a large bout of outbreaks. So now they're on lockdown for a month, and hopefully they'll be able to get that under control.
I see. Wow. So some of these countries actually are having second waves already.
That's right. So Hong Kong is having a bit of a second wave. They're still kind of controlling it. Singapore is definitely on their second wave, and it hasn't been good for the last week. So I'm hoping and praying for our friends out there. Friends in China, they've been telling us that things are starting to return to normal in terms of businesses that are starting to open up. Um, I've been hearing from friends that going out to restaurants is now possible, although the uptake of doing that hasn't really caught on yet. At least people are opening businesses. Food delivery is better. You've got more choices and stuff like that. So um, I think all in all, Asia's we're doing well. We're keeping it under control.
Okay. Now, being a thought leader in your sphere of influence and also in your network, you mentioned that you recently just spoke with a bunch of college students. So maybe you can tell me a little bit more about that. What message did you send out to them?
Yeah, so I was invited to speak to about 150 college students. At the moment in the Philippines, school is still on. So most schools are still on for probably another couple of weeks. So I was invited to talk to them about grit and persevering in these difficult times. And one of the interesting things that I took away from that talk with the kids is a lot of them feel very lost with what's happened. A lot of these kids, they've been at home isolated from their friends for so long that they're having a hard time coping and they just don't know what to do. So what I tried to do when I was doing the talk with them was explain some of the things that have helped me and my family sort of cope with being stuck at home for 6 weeks. And number one, what I shared with them was to try to put a schedule together, put a routine. I mean, you hear it a lot from people, but it's really, really very important that not only yourself, but your whole family sort of has a routine every day that you look forward to, whether it's a good thing to look forward to or a bad thing, right? Something you don't want to
Mm-hmm.
do. That the point is you're looking forward to have to do something. A lot of these kids that we were talking to, we realized they were lost because they just they felt all the days sort of just meshed together as days to watch Netflix and binge and stuff like that. So
True.
I was trying to explain that, yeah, try to put some sort of a schedule together. And the next thing was to explain to them that they didn't have to feel bad about binging on Netflix. I mean, everybody has to go through that phase, right? So go ahead and binge a bit on Netflix, but then try to structure your day a bit so that you can actually get other things done. And I think the kids really appreciated that. Another thing that I shared with them was to try to learn something, right? Because you've got so much time on your hands now to try to learn something. So for my kids, it's not a problem because we have to do the homeschooling thing with them, so they're good. But for the older kids and for myself and my wife, we try to use this time to learn something. So one of the things that I'm doing with my kids now is we're actually learning how to invest in the stock market a bit. So my kids have opened an online account, and I'm trying to talk to them about investing in really good companies that you understand, companies that are undervalued now, but in 2 or 3 years from now, the money you invest will be worth much, much more then when things are more normal, right? And then, yeah, I've enrolled myself in master class, and I'm doing a couple of those master classes. I think it's very, very good. And my new best friend is YouTube. So I get on YouTube for 30 minutes a day, and instead of watching silly movies or whatever, there's a really great guy on YouTube. His name is the Swedish Investor. So one of the things that I've been trying to do is get myself to read a book, right, during all of this time. And it's hard to sit down and read a book. It's easier to just watch something. So this guy called the Swedish Investor on YouTube, he basically has a catalog of like 50 or 60 of the best business and self-help books. And in 15 minutes, he does a infographic that explains the top takeaways from the book. And at the very end of the summary, he flashes all the tips. So you just have to pause it and then take a screenshot, and then you've got the best take. We've got cliff notes, right, from the best business books, and it's been a great couple of weeks of learning for me.
All right. Now, for your own company, you mentioned earlier that you needed to pivot really quickly. So
Yeah.
Can you share with us what was your biggest decision recently, especially after the outbreak, business-wise?
Yeah. So it was very difficult for. I'm gonna keep it real, man. I mean, the first week, probably the first week and a half for me was difficult because the lockdown in the Philippines happened very quickly. They announced it on a Friday that they were gonna lock down on Monday, and obviously you don't work on the weekends, so you come Monday, that's it, right? Everything's closed. We had about 38 people in our company, and basically during the first week of the lockdown, all of our clients canceled events, moved events, and we basically realized in the first week of the lockdown that the first half of this year for 2020 for us is a total write-off, right? So what do you do? So we took the first couple of days to feel bad for ourselves, and then we picked ourselves up and said, okay, what are we going to do with this? So as I said, we did a pivot from doing on-ground, on-track events to pivoting to an online platform. And we saw that it was going to be a very, very positive trend, because as we were toying with this idea, we saw that other major motorsports events around the world were doing the same because they were getting canceled, like Formula One and the touring car programs from in Europe and in Asia. So we took the second and third week of the lockdown to start conceptualizing and planning a move to esports or virtual racing. And then we gathered a team. So we gathered a team that would help us run the races, do the broadcast, officiate, host, and do all of the marketing materials. And the crazy thing is we were able to conceptualize, plan, launch, and do our first race, which was last Monday, without having a physical meeting with anybody. So technology is amazing, I tell you. At the same time, because it was so new, the idea was so novel, right? We were actually able to close sales and bring in sponsors. So we brought in, we made the pivot, we planned, we pivoted, and we were actually able to create sales. So yeah, at the moment we've done our first event. We've got 5 events planned during this lockdown, and from our first race activity, we now have had something like 73 players join us, and we've had something like 25,000 views for our race. So for our first run, I think it's quite good, and it'll only build up more steam as we get going.
I see. Well, and you did this all within a few weeks, so that's a very big and very quick pivot.
Yeah.
What did you say to your employees and your team members with this whole pivot? I'm pretty sure many of them are feeling, scared, uncertain. What message did you say to them as a leader?
Yeah.
Not
So,
only to reassure them, but also, hey, let's do this thing now. Let's change direction really quickly.
well, I think the first thing that we did in the first week of the lockdown was to secure uh, all of our really key employees. So we had 38 employees, and all of our regular employees, the guys that work with us on a day-to-day basis, they were all guaranteed that we would retain them. We guaranteed that we would retain them. Just like in the States now, where you guys have a program to furlough people, we asked our uh, events people, the people that would have been working on the on-ground events, because they didn't have an actual job to do. We had given them allowances so that they can at least survive the next couple of weeks. We had people that are very essential to our pivot, so they've been allowed to do a work from home, although we've had to reduce days. And I think one of the more important things that we did is as soon as we went into lockdown, the first thing we did was talk to the banks and secure uh, lines from our banks to make sure that we had a long enough financial runway to take care of our people and to survive this lockdown. Because I think the worst thing that can happen is for companies to run out of money, right? So you're trying to work with your employees, you're trying to make sure that they're okay, and then you run out of money, and then everybody's out of a job. So we assured our people that as soon as we go back, that everybody would have their jobs back, and we've also given out personal loans to some of our employees that really need it. We've paid out all of their vacation and sick leaves as well, and yeah, man, and honestly, I'm crossing my fingers because we've just been extended another 2 weeks, and we probably have a financial runway that leads us into the first week or two of June, and then it could be a problem for us.
I see. Can you tell us a little bit more about how the Philippines government help businesses with their cash flow, with liquidity? Is that, have they been doing a good job, or are there government programs or reassurances that, hey, we want to make sure that we have liquidity here, so there's no cash flow issues?
Yeah, actually, the government has been surprisingly very, very good to the small businesses, entrepreneurs, to employees. Um, for the employees, they've been giving out not only they've been giving out cash allowances to the regular employees that have been filing their taxes and stuff like that. They have been giving out relief goods to the different areas, so to make sure that everybody's got some food. And for the small businesses, there's now a small business loan that's being sorted out by the government. They've also extended lower interest rates to the banks, which right now I hear is starting to trickle down to the companies. Um, so it's been quite good. I just hope that the lockdown doesn't extend too much longer, because I think it will get to the point where the government won't be able to support the people any longer, right? So I think May 15 will really be for us, sort of like the breaking point, the make or break point for the Philippines.
Wow, wow. Okay. Now, you mentioned going virtual, this big pivot. As an entrepreneur, you always try to look ahead and look for opportunities. Uh, what do you see at the end of this tunnel, and what things will change forever in your particular industry? So, for example, is this virtual setup? Do you think this is going to be the next thing, uh, going, or is it more of a temporary thing while everyone's still on lockdown?
I think this crisis is going to be an opportunity for businesses to transform their business models, right? A lot of businesses, I think, will realize that having people travel an hour to the office and an hour going home is not productive, and moving towards more a work from home digital sort of format, I think, is going to be the trend moving forward. I mean, quite honestly, I'm I'm very much surprised at what we were able to accomplish in the last couple of weeks with zero physical meetings. As a matter of fact, we're already on to our second project, which has taken a bit of uh, a bit of an idea off of what you're doing, and I want to thank you for that. We're actually going to be doing a couple of podcasts as well, and it's going to be, we have a Facebook page which has about 120,000 motorsports enthusiasts in the Philippines. So we're going to be doing car, automotive, racing related podcasts. So that's what we're going to be doing looking forward. I think also the this lockdown and this virus is going to affect businesses in such a way that a lot of people are going to be looking at sustainable solutions. I think a lot of people are now, hanging out in their gardens or walking around and going, "Wow, without pollution, this is actually really nice," right? So I think that's going to be something that is going to be a very, very big thing after the lockdown ends. And finally, I think businesses will not just be about, well, the businesses that survive this pandemic will not only be about financial bottom lines anymore, but it'll be about caring for their people and ensuring that their people are safe, right? So I think the new normal will be totally different from what we've all been used to before, and the idea is to figure out how or what our place in this new world will be.
I see. All right. Well, those are really, really good insights. So again, I just want to thank you for, for being our guest today. I wish you and your family well, and stay safe and healthy out there.
Thanks, man. You too. And if I don't see you soon, I will see you in class next year.
Yeah, that's
Take
right.
care, brother.
Yeah. All right. Thanks.